gentlemen, welcome to the main event. Let's get ready to rumble!
And that's right, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of the Best Seat in the House podcast. As always, I'm your host, Rob Cramer, alongside my co-host, Daniel Bobo Kurlan. And Dan, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing great, just great, fresh off of a Mets win. That was like a much needed win. We just took 2 out of 3 against a tough Padres team that I feel like almost got rid of that bitter taste from that playoff series last year. The way our season ended, like disappointingly in the first round. That was not fun the way it ended, of course.
Of course. But just like you said, definitely got the bad taste out of our mouth a little bit. And yeah, just one of many things that we got to get into today, man. So many things to get into off the top. I mean, we got the Mets, we got the Yankees, the Islanders with a chance to clinch tonight. The Rangers have already clinched, and they're just awaiting whether it's going to be Carolina or the Devils. The Knicks are awaiting their playoff series against the Cavaliers. So, as always, let's just kick it off with the Mets, and you know we'll do everything else later on. But so as you mentioned, the Mets beat the Padres today 5-2. Tyler McGill got the victory once again. Mr. April coming through with a very big, and I don't mean that in a bad way either. But you know, Tyler McGill just seems to be unbeatable in April over the last 2 years. And Ottavino stepped in, got the save, a couple of home runs from Lindor and Alonso. So after that, you know, after this series has concluded now, Dan, we're 13 games into the season right now. How are you feeling with, about this Mets team? Have they lived up to your expectations yet?
Well, so far they're finally I think they're starting to get to where they expected to be. I mean, they just took 2 out of, like I said, they just took 2 out of 3 from a tough San Diego team. Of course, unfortunately, we had that little blip against Milwaukee, but I think we kind of put that slow start back in the rearview mirror. There is one thing I do gotta say. Freaking can these starters freaking go past 5 innings already? I feel it's getting me nervous a bit, like overtaxing on our bullpen, our starters not being able to go past the 5th inning. I don't know if that's a result of this pitch clock bullshit that's been which is kind of gonna really be telling over time how it's affected your starters. But so far, I've yet to see not a single starter this year go past the 5th inning, and that's a little concerning with me this year so far.
Yeah, I do agree with you, man. I mean, one thing I will say is that, with Tyler McGill at 80 pitches today, I mean, I would have left him in a little longer. I understand that Buck wanted to get him out of there on a high note, but yeah, I agree with you. The one thing is on Monday, Max Scherzer really had to battle his way through. And so, I mean, that was unavoidable. He threw almost 100 pitches in his 5 innings. So you understood why Buck took him out. But, I heard a lot of people taking shots at Scherzer for, his last 2 starts. Everybody forgets that he had a pretty damn good first start on opening day, 6 innings, 3 runs. He threw 1 bad pitch to Garrett Cooper, who took him deep in Miami. But, I mean, other than that, the guy was phenomenal for the first 5 innings and threw 1 bad pitch. Then, obviously, he had his really bad start in Milwaukee, which nothing went right for the Mets in Milwaukee. But then yesterday, just like you mentioned, too, this Padres lineup is very, very deep. I mean, from 1 to 9, it's very rare that you get to take a breather against these guys. So they were really, really fighting Scherzer off on that first game. So I can't really get on Scherzer too much for only throwing 5 in that first game. Right, Dan? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I can't really get over much. I feel like it's early in the season. I feel like Scherzer, and I feel like just a lot of the pitchers this year, I feel like pitchers maybe take a little more time to get going. But I have a feeling that Max Scherzer is going to be fine. He's a veteran pitcher. He doesn't. He just has a good track record, so I feel we'll be fine about that. You know, I'm a little bit hurt about hopefully about how Verlander is going to do once he gets here. From what we saw during spring training, it looked like he pitched a couple of decent outings with even with the pitch clock. But at the same time, I feel he needs to get ready, have some get over that early season hump with the first couple starts in New York, which is going to be a whole different animal for Verlander. The one thing I do have to give credit, Verlander has pitched in the World Series, so maybe that's a little bit. So maybe he has an idea what it is with pitching in high pressure. That maybe he'll be used to this since New York is kind of like that all year long.
Yeah,
So
I
we'll,
agree with you,
we'll
man.
see.
Yeah, it's definitely true because Verlander and obviously Buck mentioned the other day that we're not going to be seeing Verlander on this California trip. Obviously, the Mets concluded their homestand today. They have off tomorrow, and then they hit the road starting with Oakland on Friday night. And they have Oakland, then they get the Dodgers, and then they have 4 against San Francisco. So they won't be coming home until right around April 24th or 25th. And when you really look at it, there really isn't any way that Verlander is going to be able to make it work where he can appear on that California trip. We're probably looking more so at him being there when the Mets get home at the end of April, which, by the way, I don't think that's the worst thing in the world. What about you, Dan? I mean, obviously we know the guy's 40 years old. We all wanted to kind of take it easy with him this year to begin with. So it's pretty good that they're going to give him one rehab start down in Port St. Lucie, and then they're just going to take it from there. They're going to let him work his way back in the rotation at the end of the month, and I think that's probably the best way to go about it for now, right?
Yeah, probably the best decision to go for now. Also, I have to say that for all I know, that next home game, I have the ticket to the next home game.
Oh, really?
That I got. Yeah, it's a little ticket I got through a Camp Food Drive. I donate said to Camp Food Drive, and then you get like a little free ticket coupon. But that
Mm-hmm.
next game happens to be could for if things work out well, could end up unexpectedly being might possibly be Justin Verlander's Met debut, and I could unexpectedly get to see that.
That's true. Yeah, that's true, man. That would be pretty cool seeing his first start, as a Met. Um, Unfortunate timing of him having to go on the DL at the end of spring there, but I think in the long run it's going to end up being a good thing for the Mets. Let Verlander work his way in, and let Tyler McGill eat up a lot of these early innings. I think that's the best way for the Mets to do it. And if McGill is pitching good, keep running him out there. No reason to take him out even when he comes back, because I have a feeling that at least for a portion of this year, the Mets are going to be doing a 6-man rotation. So, hey, I got no problem with that as long as they both keep putting up good numbers. Right, Dan?
Yeah, exactly. I just feel McGill is a lot better than people credit him for, and because he hasn't really gotten much chance to start, but when he gets a chance, he rides the wave as much as possible, and as long as he gets that, we might have found a hidden.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, Tyler McGill is definitely ace in the pocket for the Mets. Really, he's been great for them. The last couple of years early on in the season when they've needed him, and I think a lot of people kind of forgot about him because of his injury last year that cost him most of the season. And people tend to look back on the ineffectiveness that he showed out of the bullpen late last year. But that wasn't the real Tyler McGill that we've grown to know over the last couple of seasons, because when we've seen Tyler at his best, he's been very effective, and especially working up in the zone and just getting not wasting pitches and getting the job done. So I think now when he's fully engaged back in this rotation now, we're definitely going to see the best out of him. And so far this year we have 3-0, 3 starts. You can't do better than that, right?
Yeah, we can't do better than that. I mean, Tyler McGill was all this time works better as a starter. It was like he
Yep.
looked out of place as a reliever. I felt it was like a mistake. It's not always an easy transition when someone transitions from starter to reliever. Sometimes they work better as one or the other, and that was the case with Tyler McGill. He was best used as a starter, and now he's finally getting a chance to show that.
Yeah, you're right, man, because it was almost a case last year of, just like you said, he never really looked like he fit in there. It was like, okay, we have this guy, we have this square peg. Let's try to fit it in this round hole. And it just didn't fit. And, it wasn't the Mets' fault, because obviously everything was going well at the rotation last year. So at the end of the year when DeGrom came back, there was really no need for McGill in there. And, it was the same thing with the bullpen. Everybody had their defined roles, and there was really no spot to fit Tyler in, except maybe in that middle, 7th, 6th inning range right there. But it just didn't work out. But hey, everything's looking very good this year. They're getting the best out of him. They're getting the best out of David Peterson. Dan, before we move on from the Mets, though, what's your thoughts right now on this whole lineup? It feels to me like the lineup is very dangerous in the top half. I mean, obviously with Nimmo and Marte and Lindor and Alonso, and then McNeil. Which, by the way, I'm not really loving McNeil still hanging out there in the 6-7 spot in the lineup. The guy's batting champion. They got to figure out a way. What's that?
You're breaking up. Are you able to hear me?
I can hear you.
All right. I was gonna say the bottom of the lineup is not really doing it for this team. I feel like they might have to have their hand forced. I mean, you got these guys playing in AAA, Viennos and Beatty, and he might have no choice but to bring them up because they feel like Viennos could easily slide in and DH, and Beatty could probably slide in third most of the games.
That's what. Yeah.
Also, I have to say, I think they really need to get Alvarez in the lineup more often. He's being underutilized, and I could tell by yesterday's game that he felt like he was kind of a bit cold in the way he was batting. Like he's not getting enough at bats. It's wasting his player. This potential great player we have here on our team. He needs to either be catching or DHing while he's here. Give him that chance, and that is the only way he could get to where we hope he will get to, is getting consistent at bats.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you, man. And as a matter of fact, I'd even take it one step further. Of the Mets really have to. I mean, and I guess maybe they're still in the finding out phase of this right now. But for me, I think the Mets really have to figure out, are we willing to give Francisco Alvarez a long leash and let him figure it out no matter what he does. Like, let's give him a month, let him get 90%, 90% of the starts over a month or whatever, and just see what the results are. And if the results aren't there, then maybe it's time to reevaluate and send him back down, let him get more time in AAA, and bring in, probably a low-risk veteran catcher. A guy that you're not going to have to give up much for just to be a body here to take the spot behind Nido. Because you know what? As much as I do like Tomas Nido, it would be one thing if Tomas was going out there and hitting, 290 and driving in, a bunch of runs and everything, and he's a constant threat. And this is not a shot at Nido because I like him a lot, but he's a decent backup catcher. We even saw earlier today the Mets had bases loaded, nobody out, and as soon as I forget who it was, I think maybe Escobar was hitting in front of Nido, and he didn't get the hit, and it was bases loaded, one out. I knew right then and there the Mets were not scoring. Nido grounds into the double play, threat ended, it's over. So when you look at the lineup, I mean, you're not getting that much production out of Nido in the first place. So why not see what you got in Alvarez, right? And I mean, especially for the other guys too. You have Beatty in the minors that's killing it right now. I mean, what better option do the Mets have than just ride the kids out and see what you got in them, right?
Yeah, exactly. And plus, I feel like it's not like the kids are going to be carrying a lot of the weight because you got that top half of the lineup still. That's producing.
Exactly.
So I feel like they got a perfect opportunity to slowly work their way in, get their bats in. Might not be much of a hole that in that lineup. Give them a chance already.
Yeah, it's true. And you know what? It would be different if, like you said, the Mets didn't have that top half of the lineup, and they were just kind of keeping their fingers crossed, bringing the kid up, hoping for lightning in a bottle, kind of like they did with Michael Conforto in 2015, where they weren't getting anything out of their lineup, and this was the pre the Cespedes trade, and so they brought up Michael Conforto, hoping that he could ignite a little bit into this lineup, and he did. He did provide a little bit of pop from the left-handed side, and especially when the rest of the lineup evened out, and they brought in Cespedes and a couple of these other bench pieces, then it all came together.
Yep, and a couple of guys came back from injuries, so it worked out well for the Mets. I feel there's a situation they need to let these kids have it. Yeah, that's a big leagues already.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, I think we saw that Brett Beatty, has the ability to stay in the big leagues. He didn't, he got hurt last year, and it kind of cut him short a little bit. But there were some big moments out of Beatty last year. And in spring training, Beatty was on all the time. Every time he turned around, he was ripping the cover off the ball. So I definitely think that, if anything, maybe the Mets don't want to rush Vientos back. Maybe the Mets don't want to rush, Mauricio up, which I understand. But definitely at least bring up Beatty because, look, I'm a big fan of Eduardo Escobar as a person. He's a really good guy. I actually, met him down in spring training, and he's a nice guy. He's a great teammate. Everybody down there loves him. But the fact of the matter is, right now the guy's just not hitting. And, you can't let your third baseman, that's a big bat, you can't let that bat sink the bottom half of your lineup as often as it is right now. So the Mets are going to have to figure something out, and it's probably going to end up being the kids, because that's choice one, and choice two is the trade deadline, and we're still quite a while away from that.
Yep, that's
yeah.
true.
So
and also, I gotta say, also, Billy Epler, don't hold back at the trading deadline. That is gonna be the I said it last year, and I said it this year. That is gonna be the big factor that could make or break the outcome of the season, right there.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, look at the last 2 years. Look at what Atlanta did in 2021 where they went out there and made all those big moves, picking up Soler and I can't even remember all the other names they picked up, but they Duval and all those guys, and every single one of those guys ended up playing a big role in their championship run. And then the same thing last year, where the Phillies went out and made a couple of big moves and picked up guys like Robertson, who's in the Mets bullpen now, and Noah Syndergaard, who's out in the Dodgers now. They went out and picked up a couple of big pieces, and those big pieces ended up helping them go on that run. So, to the World Series last year. So, I agree with you. A lot of it's going to be falling on Billy Epler and his decisions come the trade deadline. So you're definitely right about that, man. And so as I'm sorry, what were you going to say?
And I was also going to say, of course, also the next couple of games, it's a huge stretch of West Coast games, so it's going to be a lot of setting the DVR and watching the next day for most of the games on the West Coast, and then of course not this weekend. I mean, it's a weekend, so I'm going to be staying up to watch the games. But I have the thing still set on a DVR in case they fall asleep, because sometimes these West Coast games just really get trying to stay up. Sometimes can be a crazy. How do you people in the freaking West Coast do that?
Well, the 3-hour time difference helps, but yeah, you're definitely right about that. I mean, those people are staying up to all hours in the morning. But yeah, Dan, so and a quick score check. The Islanders are leading the Canadians 2-1 right now. So I'm sorry, what were you gonna say, Dan?
I was gonna say they never have to stay up to watch a game that was West Coasters.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I guess
Because
unless what were you gonna say?
Because I know some fans I know some people. Their time when a lot of these night games are. The only thing is the afternoon games. They kind of it's kind of like 9 o'clock in the morning to watch a lot of these afternoon games.
Yeah, you're definitely right about that. As I just got distracted real quick because I saw that Brock Nelson scored for the Islanders now. So the Islanders have now taken a 3-1 lead over Montreal. So they're looking pretty good in their attempt to clinch tonight. And we'll get back to them in a couple of minutes, as we do want to move on and talk about the Yankees for a couple of minutes now. As the Yankees had a big win today. They came back. They beat Cleveland 4-3. They actually beat Cleveland's closer, Emmanuel Clase, who he didn't have as good a year as Edwin Diaz last year, but Emmanuel Clase was right up there. He's one of the better relievers in baseball. And the Yankees came back, scored a run against him, won the game 4-3. Peralta gets the victory. Clase takes the loss, and Holmes gets the save, his fourth of the year. But Dan, have you been watching the Yankees at all? I mean, they got this kid they've been running out there, Franchi Cordero. Have you seen any of this kid?
Yeah, I've seen him. He looks pretty good so far.
Yeah, this kid looks like he could be the real deal.
Yeah, I have to say that was no easy win for the Yankees. Cleveland was playing them tougher than I expected. I mean, especially I remember last year, the first round of the playoffs, Cleveland played them pretty tough. They just unfortunately Cleveland had their historical game 7 type meltdown. Not sure what it is. I do got some friends from Cleveland. I made friends with some people on Twitter, and some fans of the show that are from Cleveland, especially when I myself have actually once went to Cleveland. When I remember a couple of years ago, Opie and Anthony did a broadcast from Cleveland. I met some fans I don't normally get to see because they're usually out of state and stuff. That when I went there, but yeah, that's gotta be tough. That's gotta be tough. How many times can one franchise lose game 7s in playoff series?
Yeah, it's true, man. and especially they had a lot of that heartbreak at the hands of the Yankees. So definitely, kind of a deja vu moment for Guardians fans today, which I say as I'm rolling my eyes.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I
what were you
still
gonna
have a
say?
habit of I still have a habit of calling them the Indians,
Yeah, me too. Me too. It's
especially the fact that me, they're linked to one of my favorite baseball movies, Major
of
League,
course, of
which I
course.
do I do own a replica of Jabu, so that I give him the best rum I can before every Mets game, by the way. And then today that rum worked. The rum worked
Exactly.
today.
Exactly.
The rum worked today.
And whatever you do, don't drink Jabu's rum.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, man. So the Yankees have definitely been getting all out of this kid, Franchi Cordero. Not only did he hit a home run today, but he made another great catch. This kid just seems to be all over the place right now. And even though the Yankees, I mean, they're 8-4, they haven't been getting aside from Garrett Cole, who's been outstanding, and they still haven't even seen Carlos Rodon yet, who's due back in a couple of weeks. The Yankees have been not really getting great pitching yet, but they're still winning. They're getting the victories. They're 8-4 so far. A couple of games better than the Mets. Mets are 7-6. But the Yankees, man, they're just doing what it takes to win so far. And one thing I will toot my own horn about is that the Yankees, even though they are 8-4, are in second place because the Tampa Bay Rays, who I picked to win the AL East, are unbelievable. What have you thought about the Rays' run so far, man? They just don't lose, and the games aren't even close. They blow people out every night.
Yeah, that's like, I don't know, it's like unheard of, that kind of start. At the same time, I got I looked up I forgot the last time a team got to that kind of start, undefeated start to begin the season. Apparently, unfortunately, it was a team that didn't even make the playoffs. That the last time a team got to that kind of start.
Yeah, the last team that started off this hot was the 1987 Milwaukee Brewers, who started off 13-0. And you're right, they didn't even make the playoffs that year. So maybe it isn't a good a good thing to start off this well, because actually, if you remember in 2018 under Mickey Callaway, the Mets started 11-1 and missed the playoffs that year. So, you know, not everybody is the 84 Detroit Tigers starting off 35-5 and winning the World Series.
Yep, that's for sure. But at the same time, I kind of was right about the Rays. Get we're gonna be it was gonna be neck and neck with the Rays and the Yankees. That the Yankees aren't gonna have this easy walk in the park. The division Rays, that
Oh yeah.
the
And
Rays looked like they were going to be a competitive team this year, and so far that's coming to fruition in the East. Also,
yeah,
Toronto is looking pretty good.
it really is going to be a three-team race. I mean,
Yeah,
even
as
though,
as
you know, Tampa
as a
started off
matter
so good, but the Yankees and Toronto aren't going anywhere.
yeah, as a matter of fact, there's this little game on MLB.com. Like where you win. Sometimes you win random things. Either it's like a week of MLB.TV, which I don't have use for because I already get that with T-Mobile. But sometimes this game, like, if you prizes, like, could be an MLB.com gift card. But I do this. The game is called Beat the Streak, and basically it's you try to go as long as you can with the streak, and there's even like some sort of huge cash prize if you break the, I think it's the
56.
famous the record for yeah,
Yeah, 56.
you break the 56 streak, but yeah, but basically what you do is each day you pick a player that's in the games that are happening on that day that's going to get a hit, and if that player gets a hit, that adds to your streak, and you could double down and try to get two players, and two that'll count as a two that'll count as double your streak, adding to your streak if both players get a hit, and if one doesn't get a hit, of course it's your streak was broken. But if it's
Hmm.
two, like what happened to me today. I went with two. I got lucky. Tomorrow, the player I decided to pick to try to get a hit happened to be Boba Fett, who I've accidentally called Boba Fett.
Yeah, that's true. I like that though. That makes a lot of sense, and it sounds very similar. So I can't blame you for that. It really does. So
Yeah. Tomorrow I picked him. I picked him to get a hit to see if he could continue that streak in that game and getting a hit. So far, I'm I'm 12 hits so far in this game. I got a 12. I'm in the middle of a 12 hit streak in this game. I picked
wow, that's
well.
awesome. I'm a big fan of that beat the streak game, the BTS, and I still haven't played this year yet, but the last couple of years, man, you know, there was one year I got to like 20, and it was great. I was loving it and everything. And it seems like ever since then, I can't even get like over 5 games now.
But by the way, what have you won in those streaks when you've done that streak before? Have you won like
Um,
anything like a MLB.com gift card?
yeah, like it. I don't think it was a straight up gift card. I think it was like 20% off or something like that. And yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, it
yeah,
wasn't
yeah.
anything.
I've gotten the 20% off a lot.
Yeah,
This, but I've either gotten the 20% off with a 1 week of MLB.TV, which I don't have use for because I get, as we know, same thing with you. We both get that free with T-Mobile. So it's like,
exactly.
so it's like, I don't have use for that. But I would love to for once get some like the MLB.com gift card, or or even the SeatGeek to the gift card is pretty neat also. It may
That is
maybe
pretty
depending
cool.
on the expiration date, maybe depending on the expiration date on those SeatGeek gift cards, I could hold on to that and maybe save a little money on my playoff tickets.
That's a good
Just
call
saying.
too. You're right about that. You're right about that. And maybe not even just the Mets playoff tickets, maybe some Rangers playoff tickets as well.
Yep, that's true. Even though that's like a hard stretch, being the fact that have you seen the ticket prices for the Rangers playoffs? It's like astronomical.
I've seen that. Yeah, I've seen it's in the. I mean, from what I've seen, everything is 250 and over.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I was hoping to get some regular season tickets for us. Like I was waiting for like some paycheck or some other things I have to help pay for. That was helping my mom with. And then when I got this, I was like, oh, there was not enough regular season games to save up for it, and the prices for like two tickets were like astronomical for me to try to even think of getting two tickets.
Yeah, it really is insane, man. I mean, even to be honest, even when I was looking, it seemed like the Knicks playoff tickets were more reasonable than the Rangers were.
Yeah, that is shocking. I think there'd be high demand for that. I mean, in New York. I mean, even though we do have the Nets, like it is a Knicks town pretty much. Like there is a huge Knicks fan base and man, even myself that's eager to see this team get back to where we were back in the '90s.
Hmm.
That's shocking that the prices haven't skyrocketed for.
Yeah, well, I mean, the prices are pretty high, but I don't know. It seems like the Knicks playoff tickets were from when I was looking yesterday were in the 150 to 200 range, where the Rangers were more in the 250 to 300 range. So you know what though, it might also be because as much as everybody is excited about the Knicks and everything, maybe the Rangers' expectations are just a little bit higher because everybody kind of expects the Rangers to go on a run with all these big pieces this year. You know?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Those expectations are higher, especially with this team. Like this is a I mean, this is going to be an exciting playoffs. Like, I cannot wait. I mean, we got one more game, though. I feel like tomorrow's game I feel like they're just gonna mail in because I mean it's too. There's not enough games left for us to try to make up that ground to try to leapfrog the Devils to try to get a home ice in the first round. So it's pretty much right now we're just gonna take it what we have. We're in the playoffs. Let's try to go win the whole damn thing.
That's that's true, man. It's 100% true. As a matter of fact, while we're talking about it, let's jump right into the hockey. As we'll start off with the Rangers, but just to keep an eye on the Islanders, there's 3 minutes left in the second period, and the Canadians just scored a shorthanded goal, so it's now 3-2 with 3 minutes left. If the Islanders hold on and win, they'll clinch their playoff spot tonight as the second wild card. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. But, as we start this off, though, we'll catch up with the Islanders after they finish this period. But our Rangers right now, like you mentioned, right now we're locked into third. They unfortunately lost on Monday night, and combined with the Carolina victory that ended any chance that we had of a division championship this year. The Devils are still in it, though. The Devils still have a chance. So there is, you'd say most likely.
Unfortunately ended that.
What's that? Dan, can you hear me?
But yeah, it seems like most likely we're facing. I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Yes, what were you saying?
But yeah, I was gonna say it seems most likely we're facing the Devils in the second round, in the first round.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. It looks like most likely Devils. It could still be Carolina though, so definitely have to keep your eye on both those teams because they both only have one game left being played tomorrow night. So the division championship will be decided by the end of tomorrow. The game for the Rangers is pretty meaningless. So I'm wondering what they're probably going to do. I would expect to see Halak start this game just because it's probably the last opportunity they have to get him in for a while. At least, unless he's coming in cleanup duty. So I could see Halak starting tomorrow. And really the thing that has been rough for the Rangers, even though they did sit Patrick Kane for 2 games last week, like we discussed on last week's show, they really don't have much room to sit anybody. The only way they can do it is by sitting if you sit a forward, the only person they have to put in is Ben Harper. So then you're playing once again with 11 forwards and 7 defensemen. So it's going to be really interesting to see how Gallant handles that last game. Is he going to give a guy like Patrick Kane maybe another day off? Maybe he sits Tarasenko. Who knows what they're thinking. But at the very least, it's really good to see Lindgren back in there, right?
Yeah, that felt really good to see Lindgren back there. I actually watched that game after work. I turned off all my alerts on the NHL app and everything, and because I was at the Met game that night. So I watched the game. I watched the game after work. Just kicked back, had some tea, watched the game, and then fortunately ended up we had another one of those double overtime loss that we're facing this rookie goalie that's making saves upside down on its head and shit. Talk about a roadblock.
Yeah, that was a tough one, and especially dropping the game in overtime and everything. 13 overtime losses this year just really gets under your skin. But you look on the bright side, it's 13 extra points that keep the Rangers in the top echelon of the division. So, it sucks losing those games in overtime, but those points end up mattering at the end of the season. And yeah, when you look at where the Rangers are looking from here now, what do you think the biggest thing that they have to accomplish coming out of this last game is, Dan? Is it pretty much because getting a win would be great because the Rangers have nothing to play for, and neither do Toronto. So it's going to be, no one's foot is really going to be on the gas in this game. Let's be honest. Is the main thing for this game just coming out of it healthy.
Exactly. Come out of this game healthy. Get ready. Be in good shape going into the playoffs. Everyone on the team ready to go come playoff time. I believe the playoffs start. When is that? The 17th, right?
I think you're right. I think it is the 17th.
The 17th will be the last time I shave before the playoffs, and my face looks like Mr. Maloonigan, my dog.
Exactly,
By
because
the
that
time
means we're
it
doing pretty
comes.
good then.
Yep, yep, exactly. Speaking of this, I'm kind of low key about it, but Mr. Maloonigan just did come out of the bed. He had to have it. Wasn't like a little big thing, but he had like a mask that had to be. He unfortunately had to remove his tail,
Oh, they had
but
to remove his
he's okay.
tail?
But I still, yeah, they had to remove his tail. Yeah, it was one of those, and he's finally, he's finally, he's reacting to me like normal. But when he came back from the vet, he's like looking at me and my mom and my sister, like, "What the fuck did you take me here for?"
Oh, the poor guy. I know. I'm sorry to hear that, buddy. But at least he's doing better now.
Yeah, yeah, it is. Hopefully, he's doing better. But yeah, but yeah, he's like, he has this like look. But yeah, yesterday he had this look like, "Why'd you bring me there?" The best way to describe the look of his face. But now he looks like he's running to me and he's giving me a hug.
Well, that's good because then he's going to be ready for this coming up weekend with the sitting on the couch watching the Knicks playoff game with you, and then just like he said, next week get ready for some playoff hockey, man. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yup, it's gonna be a lot of fun. It's gonna be a lot of DVR action, maybe some two-screen action. Using the tablet or my phone because a lot of times I'm sure you have it here. Like how you could access your cable on the phone. How
Hmm.
you could do that. So that so I kind of do that here with that in the New York area, and then of course, there's also sometimes if I'm outside the house, of course, you got apps like the SNY app and MSG Go. So there's gonna be a lot of things they're gonna make use for. A little bit of two-screen action, maybe some of DVR action, but
Oh hell yeah,
it's gonna be a lot of New York sports watching. Plus you got the NFL draft upcoming, so
that's
that's gonna
right,
be
man.
interesting. And I'm
That's right.
getting a little bit nervous that so far, I guess just some extra like training camp uh, that Saquon Barkley hasn't been a no-show so far. He's gonna accept that
Yeah,
franchise tag.
yeah, that's true. That's true. I saw he didn't sign the franchise tag, but you know what though, the good thing about that is that most of those things get wrapped up by training camp. And I think the main reason why he's not signing the franchise tag right now is because he doesn't want to do the OTAs and stuff like that, which I really don't blame him. Let him stay home and get nice and healthy, even though he's been healthy for the past couple of months. But, let him stay home and don't risk any injury and just take it nice and easy. And I'm sure they'll work it out over over the summer.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. He'll work that over the summer. Also, I do have to say also, it's looking a bit nervous for you guys. I mean, for Jets fans like yourself. I mean, all this Aaron Rodgers drama.
I'm not nervous. You
I
know,
mean, I'm gonna have to check your pulse because I know it's gonna.
no, you're right. You're right, man. Because I'm telling you right now, if we were having this conversation, which we did, and you were very nice to act as my therapist on this show for a couple of weeks when all this Aaron Rodgers news was breaking at first. But you know what? I think ever since he came out and said a couple of weeks ago that he wants to be a Jet, I have been very much at peace. Sure, do I feel like I want to get this thing done? Hell yeah, I want to get this thing done. But you know what? I think Joe Douglas is doing a great job. And I think right now what the Packers and Jets aren't telling everybody is that they have a couple of different scenarios worked out where I think it's going to depend on when the Jets pick, because the Jets pick 13th in the first round, right? The Packers pick 15th in the first round. And I think depending if the guy who the Jets want, now whoever that might be, maybe it's the left tackle Paris Johnson, maybe it's a couple of these other names that have been kicking around, but if the guy the Jets want is not available, then I think we'll see a trade there. And I think there's already a couple of different scenarios involved where it's all going to depend on how the draft board plays out. So I really expect, maybe not during the first round, but definitely that weekend, I think that's when this Aaron Rodgers thing is going to go down. I want to get it done selfishly, but I'm glad that the Jets are in no rush. And it seems like, from what I heard, I forget exactly where I heard this, but I heard it just in the last couple of days that apparently Aaron Rodgers communicated to the Jets, let's take our time. There's no reason to rush it. He's not going to show up to OTAs anyway, just like Saquon Barkley. These guys don't want to do OTAs. They're vets. They know how to get their bodies in shape. And especially with Aaron Rodgers and Saquon Barkley too, those guys aren't learning new offenses. Saquon's been at the Giants. They already had their offense established. And, Aaron Rodgers has that pre-existing relationship with the offensive coordinator, Nathaniel Hackett. So I don't think there's any reason to rush getting him in there. I know people want to see him in because OTA started the 17th, but I don't blame Rodgers or Saquon for not wanting to participate. But we'll see how that plays out because there's still a lot that we can go on about with that. But we'll delve more into that Rodgers stuff and hopefully break down the trade when it's done by the time the draft comes around. But but before we move on from the hockey though, Dan, I did want to just give the Islanders their flowers. I want to throw them at them because right now they're still holding on. They had a big 3-2 lead now after the second period just concluded a couple of minutes ago. So look, Montreal's not a good team, but you can't let them play spoiler. They got to get the job done and win this game tonight, and clinch a playoff spot. That would make it making the playoffs 3 out of the last 4 years, making last year the anomaly. So you have to tip your cap to the Islanders because they've had a lot of guys. They're all these guys, including Bo Horvat, who they picked up this year, that have played a really big role in how well this team has played down the stretch. Right, Dan?
Yeah, exactly. They've played well down the stretch, and they're like on the cusp of making the playoffs. And I just have a weird gut feeling that the Rangers and Isles could cross paths in the playoffs. And I just have a feeling it's going to get crazy with some of my Isles fan friends. It's going to get a little crazy during the playoffs. Could be.
Well, it's true, and the Rangers and Islanders can definitely meet up in the playoffs, but it's going to be really interesting to see how that breaks down because the Islanders have a depending where they finish, because it also depends who takes the other wild card. Is the Panthers taking that other spot? Are they going to be the higher seed? Are the Pittsburgh Penguins going to take that spot and potentially be a higher seed than the Islanders? Buffalo Sabres were eliminated last night following the loss to Jersey. So it really is coming down to just those couple of teams now. And, if you're the Islanders and you get that bottom seed in the wild card, that means that your first round matchup is going to be against the Boston Bruins. And Boston has just been on a different planet this year. and that might be an early death sentence. But if the Islanders can get that top wild card spot, and that would mean that they would play either the Devils or Carolina, whichever team wins the division. That I could see that being a good matchup because I could see the Islanders putting up a real good fight against either Jersey or Carolina, right?
Yeah, exactly. Also, I have to say about the Boston Bruins. Yeah, they did win the best record, but I've seen the last couple of years the team that's won the President's Trophy didn't quite win the big one.
No, that's true. That's
Yeah,
true. And
yeah,
there has been a history of that. You're right.
yeah. And unfortunately, there was one time in 2015 I was on a extra upset third in the NHL. I got a little bit. I kind of cringed when I saw the then Rangers captain Ryan McDonough touch the President's Trophy. I said, "Oh, come on! Really? You had to do that?" It's like the only trophy you touch in hockey is the Stanley Cup. And
I
it's like
know.
I said,
You,
I said that I called back to that photo during when the Rangers had that unfortunate loss in the Eastern Conference Final in the 2015. I posted this picture. I said, "Oh, well, we know what happened here."
mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hold on,
Um,
can you hear me?
yes. Oh yeah, I can hear you. You broke up at the end there, but yeah, it's true, man. I mean, when just like you said, especially a guy like Ryan McDonough, he's been through all those great playoff runs and everything. You don't touch the trophy unless it's the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, exactly. As a matter of fact, I even kind of have a thing with myself that us fans don't touch the Stanley Cup unless you were alive when your team.
I like it. I like it.
Like
That
me,
makes
because of course I was alive in 1994. I was able to touch the Stanley Cup. I brought my I brought my sister to a thing like when it was a photo op with the Stanley Cup, right? And I told my sister, "Nah, I don't just you can't touch it because unlike me who was alive when the Rangers won the cup." I told my sister, you missed it by 1 year, all right? You were born 1 year later. You were born a
That's
year
some real
after,
big
so
brother shit right there.
so somehow, yeah. I told her you were born. I told her, see, you can't touch the Stanley Cup, not just yet. Maybe hopefully soon you'll get to see the Rangers win a cup, but it did happen in your lifetime.
Yet. It hasn't happened yet. But let's hope that changes this year, man. And then the next time you and your sister see the
Yep,
Stanley Cup, she could touch it.
yep, exactly. Hopefully it'll be fresh after the Rangers have hoisted it, and hopefully maybe if the Rangers win the cup, hopefully maybe somehow, some way, someone will get word to one of the players. Maybe we have to maybe meet up somewhere in a bar and have one of the players maybe bring the Stanley Cup. Maybe we could chug some beer out of the Stanley Cup. That'd be pretty cool to do that.
I like that idea a lot. I like that idea. Absolutely, man. Let's get it going. And they have you know, we've seen those the guys doing the shots and drinking beers and everything. I've even seen people eating cereal out of the Stanley Cup. So definitely would love to do
Yep,
that, especially after the Rangers.
yep, exactly. As a matter of fact, if it was possible, I would try to somehow figure out a way for Mr. Malunigan to eat his dog food out of the Stanley Cup.
Now that would be great too. I'm sure somebody's dog somewhere along the line is eating out of it too. So you're definitely right about that. All right, and while we're coming to the end here, we're getting to the end of the last lap here. I do want to talk about before we get out the Knicks now, man. I mean, let's talk about a little Knicks playoff matchup here at the Cleveland Cavs. They start on Saturday at 6:00. Knicks had a great year, man. 47-35. That's nothing to sneeze at. A couple of wins shy of 50, and a lot of people were saying the Knicks were in that 35-40 range to start the year. So Thibodeau and that Knicks team really blew those expectations out of the water. But they're going to have to be playing Donovan Mitchell in this first round now, who we all know the Knicks swung and missed on in a potential trade in this offseason. So, Mitchell's going to be having that on his mind. He's a big New York guy, too, big Mets fan. So, he's going to be loving having the spotlight on him. And, it looks like they're not going to be having Julius Randle in this series now. So, everything is kind of stacked against the Knicks right now. And they are going to get killed if they lose this series to the Cavaliers. The media is going to have a field day talking about how, they should have acquired Donovan Mitchell and this and that. And maybe there's some truth to that. What do you think, Dan?
I feel one thing, they got to win this series for all intents and purposes. They have to. It would be a letdown if we do not win this first round series. At the same time, I'm nervous being Julius Randle is injured. So it does get me nervous. I just hope we win this. Maybe Julius Randle comes back for the second round. But yeah, it's going to be a little nervous. It's going to be on edge. It's going to be especially on edge those last 5 minutes as they are when those are with the basketball game. Those last 5 minutes just always take forever. Am I right?
Yep, no doubt about it. Nothing drags like the last 5 minutes of a basketball game.
Yeah, that's for sure. But it's gonna be an intense series, and I also have a feeling. Of course, also, I mean, it's a little too early. I mean, we're going into playoffs, but we have to bring in another star like during the offseason, without a doubt.
Yeah, no doubt about it. They're going to have to see what they can do. Maybe, and I hate to do it, but maybe you look into packaging, RJ Barrett for somebody, but because the Knicks now know too that you've got legitimate players in Emmanuel Quickly, Julius Randle, Jalen Brunson. They've got a core. Obi Toppin showed some signs the last couple of weeks, and RJ Barrett is in that core too, but you're going to have to probably subtract one of those guys. And if you're going to use, these first round pick assets the Knicks have to improve the team in this offseason. But, that's a whole nother thing we can get to when the Knicks eventually get knocked out or win the NBA championship. That would be cool too. I know we wouldn't complain about that, right, Dan?
Yeah, that I feel like this is a hit or miss. This could easily be either lose. It could be anywhere from losing to the first round, the shot and chips in the same sentence. So sky's the limit with this team, and it begins this weekend. And I'm ready to go.
Said. Yeah, you're right, man. I'm ready to go too. It's been a long time coming after missing the playoffs last year. And before we move on though, Dan, let's give our picks. Let's make a quick pick for this series. What do you think, Dan?
Yeah,
yeah.
I feel like we're gonna win this. We're gonna win this one in 5.
Wow, you're picking a 5-game win. Okay.
Yeah, I'm predicting a 5.
I like that, man. I like that a lot.
I'm pumped. This is the first time I've watched. This is a rare time that I watch playoff basketball because it's hard to really be sold on watching when my team isn't in it. That means without a horse in the race, then we were. And this is a rarity that at this time of year, I'm watching basketball.
Exactly. Now we got a reason to care about it. We actually have a horse in the race, and you're definitely right about that, man. And also too, if you had to, so you picked the Knicks in 5. I'll give my pick too. My brain tells me to go with Cavaliers in 6, but I'm gonna tell my brain to shut the hell up because I think that there's something about this Knicks team. I just like the heart. And Josh Hart. I like all these guys in the team. It seems like they got that taste of the postseason a couple of years ago, and now they're ready for the real thing. And so even though my brain is telling me Cavaliers in 6, I'm going to say Knicks in 7. So we'll have a lot of fun basketball to talk about if that's the case.
Yep.
But yeah, Dan.
Exactly. It's gonna be a lot. Yeah, it's gonna.
Yeah, what were you gonna say?
It could be a very fun year. It could be a very fun next couple of months.
No doubt about it, man. Hopefully reminiscent of 1994 when the Knicks and Rangers went on those simultaneous runs. So we can.
Yep, and we nearly got both teams winning a championship in the same year that year. This close.
We did. Both teams went to their championship game 7. So the Rangers came out on top. Knicks not so much. So let's hope that the Knicks can erase that bad shit, that bad karma, and come up with the victory this year, just like our Rangers. So yeah, Dan. So I think that's it for us today. And Dan, before we get out of here, do you have anything you'd like to plug?
Sure, I'd like to plug my Twitter account, Bobo103NYC, YouTube, Daniel Kurlan on YouTube, Bobo718DK on Instagram. And by the way, we do have I can't speak a little ahead of it, but there is some potential interesting guests we might be coming our way. So look forward to that.
Yes. I was going to mention that too, and you are correct, my friend. And as a matter of fact, we have 2 guests on the horizon because there is one special guest that you're talking about that, just to drop a hint to our audience, this guest is if everything goes well, we get this guest, which it looks like it's going to happen. We will be getting this guest who is a 2023 Mets Hall of Fame inductee. So would be very cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And what gives you a hint? He shares the same name as a hotel chain. Which, by the way, the hotel chain is not named after him, as I used to. For a while, I thought as a kid, the hotel chain was named after him.
I thought that too, actually, when I was a kid. You're 100% right about that. I think every kid from New York thought that too when we were young. So, yes, so we do have that special guest in the horizon, but also the week of your birthday, we have a special guest that already said he's going to do it. So I want to keep it a surprise, because I think you're really going to like this guest, and it's a person that you know very well. And it's going to be very fun. So if you're a fan of the Opie and Anthony and Ron and Fez world and everything like that, and the podcasts that you've been a part of for the past couple of years, I think everybody will appreciate this guest a lot. So keep your eye out. Hopefully we'll be announcing that in the next couple of days.
Yeah, I think this is a guest who I think well, I could say he was on Compound, but he's doing some stuff post Compound. I think if you're correct.
I think you know who I'm talking about, my friend.
Yep, exactly. I just know it's going to be very high. It's going to be a very high energy episode. I can tell you that. That you might need some caffeine after watching this.
Absolutely. Do anything you can. You could bottle that episode and use it as a 5-hour energy drink.
Yeah, exactly.
So thank you once again, everybody, for watching the show and hanging with us and everything. So we really appreciate the support. Before we get out of here, let me just say you can follow us on Twitter at @BSith_podcast, and you can follow me on there at my last name, Cramer NY. Also, check us out on Instagram.
That's right.
And hey, if you're watching this too, don't forget to like and subscribe the video, right, Dan?
Exactly. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Watch us. We could have painted in your head if we could. But there's so many places you can watch our show, like and subscribe, support it, help our show grow.
Exactly. And we really, from the bottom of our heart, really appreciate all the support that we've gotten from everybody. So once again, thank you everybody for tuning in. I'm your host, Rob Cramer, alongside, as always, my co-host, Daniel Bobo Kurlan. And this is the Best Seat in the House podcast. We'll catch you next week, everybody.